Y'all lied bad about this Jupiter-Venus conjunction. Luckiest day of the year, my fat, voluptuous ass. What is your objective? What is the outcome you desire? This new moon is a game changer. Going back to our original point, don't say that. Don't make promises that you can't keep. Don't do it. Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel, or welcome to my channel if you're new here. Hi, hello, my name is Emmy, and today, oh my god, it's a hell cauldron. Before I was interrupted by my rude beverage holder. I have been an astrologer for a while, and for some people, that's news to them. Not unfair. If you don't talk about it, people don't know. And I do feel like part of that has to do with a few of the things that I have felt concerned about. A lot of people who are drawn to a practice feel a sense of responsibility about not wanting to paint with a broad brush, not wanting to misrepresent things. There's a lot of rage baiting online. I've talked about being worried about rage bait in general as it pertains to this part of my world, part of life. Also, I have a Gemini Mars. Uranus entered Gemini. I have my moon in Virgo. I have third house placements. If I have the platform to talk, I will fill the space. So I'm not gonna get too crazy. I wanna rein it in. I have 3 areas that I'll talk about. One thing I do want to begin with that really inspired this whole thing is not every transit is the biggest deal. At least not for everybody. I don't want to hedge it and be like, even though as a Libra rising, I do believe that there is room for the both and. Truly though, it won't hit us all the same down the road. For context, what I'm talking about is the Venus-Jupiter conjunction in Cancer. It's a very much a hot topic on threads, a whole big thing elsewhere online, cropping up on Instagram. I did clock a few. Sorry, future me that has to edit this. For instance, y'all lied bad about this Jupiter-Venus conjunction. Luckiest day of the year, my fat, voluptuous ass. Okay, everybody astrology license needs to be taken away. Oh boy. Another example, if this Jupiter-Venus conjunction in Cancer isn't feeling juicy like the pop astrologers are telling you, it's because we gotta remember what all the other planets are doing too. Mainly Mars and Taurus. Most everyone I have spoken with has mentioned that incongruencies about how they're caring for themselves, putting up with folks before, or hiding their gifts has been coming up. In addition, feelings of exhaustion, weightedness, or confusion have also been expressed. I've also heard from family members, particularly matriarchal, have moved on to the spirit realm and have released folks from shame patterns. This may not be the abundance expected, but it's bringing folks closer to being more firmly rooted in who they are. To back up even more, those are the responses to the pop astrology that we're talking about. So what we're really getting into is like, prepare for beautiful luck. This will be the last time we have this until 2037. Woo, woo, woo. The sweetest transits that we get. Don't forget to do whatever to sweeten this, that, the other. I'm not going to show the astrologers in question that were saying, oh, it's only giving lucky girl. When I talked about the conjunction on Patreon, the idea being, here is what's kind of ramping up as far as that conjunction goes. Here's what's happening with this aspect. Here's happening here. I did take it upon myself in offering my voice into the discourse. Like, I know people will want to work with it. Let me offer options that feel aligned with what's going on and what feels appropriate. Again, in my perspective, this is very watery. There's a lot going on. Here's what I think could be helpful to ritualize it. There is a lot of deep emotionality, possibility for luck, but as we have also seen, there's a lot of room for it being heavy, difficult, challenging, that you're building on something that we were working towards a release, towards being more rooted, which is different. I think that when people think of luck, they don't think of that. So there is, I think, a little bit of a disconnect. I did make a reel where I talked about, like, it's okay if it wasn't the luckiest thing that ever happened to you, and really wanting us to focus on mirroring the magical and the mundane. It's okay if things did not go as planned. that there's a lot that has to be taken into consideration. Not every transit is the biggest deal, because for me, in a sense, it was a big deal, and that as a Libra rising, it happened in my 10th house of legacy. But given what's happening natally in my chart, given the other aspects that would also be happening, there was, on one hand, a few beautiful interactions that I experienced that were very, very legacy, career affirming, that really made me, in those moments, have that empowering feeling of, wow, I am doing exactly what I want to be doing. I feel really proud of me. I feel like I created an environment for vulnerability, for authenticity, for all these things to come together. I'm having the kind of conversations that I've always wanted to have with people. That felt so, so good. And then a lot of nothing happened. Again, life goes on. I think there was an element of like, ooh, big boost. And then I did also note that in the reel that it may feel anticlimactic to have me be building up something and to hear all this language about, you know, hot girl magic, manifesting, exciting, woo. And to then have the day arrive and to hold in tandem a beautiful thing that happened that very much felt blessed and aligned with the astrology of the moment, but also didn't feel like as big as maybe what all the hype was amounting to. I do worry about that. And that's why I ultimately spoke to why it just may not be the biggest thing. Because if you're working from home and if you don't go out and do anything, if you're not doing planetary magic around things, then it just may feel very emotional. Jupiter will amplify anything that it touches, that it is going to expand. It'll be bigger, better, faster, stronger. And then Venus has that magnetizing energy. I did also flag that whatever you're feeling could just be amplified. So there's a certain degree of, I was feeling frustrated at a certain point last week, disappointed, uncertain. So then it just felt like I was just being like dragged, like pulled. I felt like I was like, not in a good way. I was like a bag of tea into hot water. Like, oh no, all of my feelings are being extracted way too quickly. I'm just having a rough time. That does not feel as great. So I think there is that element that should also be brought into the framework, is there's a possibility of this. There's a possibility that it could feel this way. But it all depends on where it's happening in your chart, what's also happening in the sky, and if there are other things not in the house that it's all happening in that could really impact whether it feels like you're going to get one side of it or the other. I also want to flag, to follow that thread, not every new full moon is going to be the biggest deal. There are other, I'm saying it like it's new. Do you know there are other phases of the moon? It's like, no shit. But there are other phases of the moon. They all have the potential to offer what it is that you may be looking for. And if anything, they might be more aligned with what your objective is for a spell, for just general self-care that you may be doing, that you're wanting to ritualize. I should maybe drink some of this very hot tea. I put together spearmint and lemon balm and honey. Yeah, it smells like grass. Oh, my throat. Because yeah, it just may not be your jam. To get into some examples. So for instance, when we think about the new moon, we're thinking about setting intentions for things. Typically, we're thinking about this being a new chapter, us being able to do some cleaning up around our home energetically. Maybe we're tending to our altars a little bit. If you're wanting to plant a seed around monetary things, if you're wanting to have spells have a little bit of momentum, a waxing crescent could be really good by comparison. Working with something like the waning gibbous, like waning in general, is really good for doing some progressive banishing work. The waning gibbous is really good for doing some cleansing, doing some banishing. Last quarter could be good for doing some restorative magic, get you a bit more grounded. There's a lot of possibilities that I think we tend to overlook, to miss out on things. A waxing gibbous could be better for attraction, doing some additional work where It has the like build-up energy, the cascading energy kind of feel versus the chaos that can often come with the full moon. We have to consider when we have a full moon, it's because the sun and the moon are opposite each other. So there's also that layer of, do you want that opposing energy to be factored in? What is your objective? What is the outcome you desire? And when during the week or the following week is best aligned for whatever that thing might be. I also think whether or not you have a good or bad moon placement, that's a whole other can of worms. I think it's important to honor our lunar returns, regardless of whether or not they are domicile, exalted at home. I think we should have that personal moment because once a month we have our few days. That's a very, very personal energy. So definitely working with your lunar return or when the moon is hanging out with your Venus, that can be very helpful for intuition as well as magnetizing work, doing glamour work, protective magic. I think that could also be helpful. And that does not necessarily hinge on it being, this is the full moon that's going to change everything. I do get emails and it's like, this new moon is a game changer. Going back to our original point, do we know? Don't say that. Don't make promises that you can't keep. Don't do it. Because it could be a game changer or it could be and that's also frustrating. So we should embrace the nuance. I know it's not sexy. I know it's easier. It would make me more viral to say, oh, it's gonna be the most, it's gonna make you so hot. It's gonna make you so rich. I wish. It's never that black and white. It's never just any one thing. And my last point, it's okay if you do not resonate with your sun sign. It's okay if you don't resonate with your sun sign. There are other layers to consider. For instance, if you have your sun in houses 1 through 6, then you have what is called a night chart. If you have your sun in 7 through 12, then that would be a day chart. And what this means is it can offer you a little perspective. Having a night chart, for instance, your sect benefic is Venus, your sect malefic is Saturn. And in the day chart, it would be Jupiter as your benefic and then Mars as your malefic. That can help you paint a better picture, can provide some insight. Oh, well, I am, let's say I am a Pisces. Shouldn't Jupiter and I be really, really tight? And if you ultimately have Venus as your benefic, then that could account for why Venusian ritual working on Venus Day on Friday feels more generative than trying to do like money magic on a Thursday. It doesn't mean, oh, give up on working with the other planetary bodies, but a lot of us we're now looking for bypassing. We're looking for a little bit of ease. We're looking for synchronicity. We would like to know that our hard work is paying off. Because if we're trying to do one particular thing, really grinding away at it, it just could be a matter of there's a better option out there. I think that's really probably the best way to frame it in my mind is it's not about one is better than the other. It could just be more a matter of if you're looking for alignment, there might be a benefic that will be able to fulfill a need a bit more so than another. It could also be a matter of what house your sun is falling in, whether or not you feel like you're resonating, because people who have sun in the 12th house, the 8th housers I know sometimes feel like there's an added karmic level or that other personal life issues or patterns or things that feel bigger than just the planetary body, bigger than the sign that's being activated. There could be some things going on there too that are affecting how things are feeling received or how even that you're being perceived. Because in being in the 12th house, that can feel like you're always trying to search for your solar energy. But it all depends on where it's happening in your chart, all those other layers. All that's to say that there's a lot of specificity. As a bonus one, a thing that I worry about is that so much of these things that are being thrown out there that are wanting to say this one thing is the luckiest thing ever, or that this one transit will be the rockiest thing that you experience. So much of this comes down to AI use in astrology. It happens. I don't know who was doing it for sure, but It's definitely at play based on what I just see on occasion. I'll be scrolling online and I'll just see something and think, that's not how a human would ever talk. I try to temper it. I personally err on the side of not being like, hey, it's AI, because also I don't know that. I will call in. I am annoyed when people say, oh, the use of the M dash, the use of semicolon, that is an AI flag. I'm like, what if we just like grammar? What if we just like using punctuation? Fun fact about Emmy, I was a spelling bee kid. So I did read the dictionary for fun. I did read the dictionary to work on phonetics and being able to learn how to spell difficult to spell words. Spelling bee prep. As a result, I do have a very expansive vocabulary. I was told growing up, like, oh, you try to talk like you're better than me. Oh, you talk white at me. And it's like, I could say that I'm a yapper. I could also say I'm loquacious. Tangent over, because that could be a whole other conversation. But yeah, I do think that there's a lot of that at play that is further fueling the desire to talk in these big, sweeping ways, for us to want to paint one thing that could be possibly auspicious as a guarantee. And if we even go back to basics, as far as divination goes, early astrology, there was a certain degree of one thing leads to another, but it's more talking about right conditions. The conditions seem pretty positive in one way, but also here is where there could be interference. So I do think that in the interest of being inflammatory to get more algorithmically bolstered and the desire to give people hope, I worry does alienate people and does make them feel like they don't have a room for themselves in terms of learning astrology or getting any benefit from it, or seeing the possibilities of how a practice can be beneficial. A real world example to kind of help illustrate this. Let's take pastors, for instance. They may be busiest around Easter because Easter is the Beyonce of Christian holidays. It is the big deal. So there is a lot of like build up to it. It also means that while everyone else is taking a full week off during Easter to celebrate, it's a great time to celebrate and get together with people. Pastors be like, not me. Not I. I don't know who you're talking to, but it ain't me. Everyone's all hyped for Easter week, Easter day. Meanwhile, the pastor's just there like, it's done. I have alleluia, all the alleluias. I could alleluia. That's what I feel is like a good parallel, because after everyone's okay, back to work, the pastor is like, this random day in May, it's now my version of Easter holiday. So it's about finding the other times that work best for you. There are definitely times astrologically that for plenty of people, I did see a lot of people say that Venus conjunct Jupiter in Cancer was that girl. And there were people who also said that it was a miserable week. What did we learn here today? On my Saturday morning cartoon-ish, we learned that I have a lot of opinions still. We learned that I think nuance is really important, that you should really tailor things to yourselves. Key takeaways: do your research, work with astrologers that are going to give you the nuance. If there is something upcoming that you're curious about, let yourself go deeper. I err on the side of do not take everything at face value. Yes, broadly, something could be really good, but it may not be good for one person, or it could be great for the next person, but we won't know until we go deeper. I could be your astrologer. I would love it. I do have my books open. I have a few different readings available. Otherwise, be patient with yourself. I want to thank my patrons for sponsoring this video. I have 2 tiers now on Patreon. I had 3, but in light of recognizing burnout, I do not have a class a month in me right now. And looking ahead in the future, I will continue to not have it in me. I looked more critically, like, what could I possibly do that would justify there being a top tier like that? No, it just can't be done. There's the $5 a month tier and $10 a month tier. Right now we are reading in my Patreon Our Share of Night. So if you would like to read something that is supernatural, occulty, is gay, queer, is historical, a thick beach read that could also, maybe it'll help you kill a mosquito, I'm looking out for you. At the highest tier, the Alchemist tier, I've been trying out this thing where I have guest people come in to talk in Patreon about a topic. I had Luna Serenova earlier this week. That was absolutely wonderful. We talked about how glare magic can be healing as a practice, and chef's kiss, I loved it. And just wonderful human being. Luna is a great person, period. A good time all around. So yeah, we're all making choices about what we can and can't do. That's, I think, one of the things that this astrology really reinforced for me, is that I have to let myself do things my way. If so much of what's going on with my chart and then the transit is about being of service to others and being a safe space to be vulnerable, there's some things that I realize I can just stop doing because I don't want to, and because it's not working, and because showing up for people the way that they need and the way that I want to, mixing them all together is always the better option. That's the vibe. That's the end of the video. Let me know if you agree. Let me know if you disagree. Let me know if you have any hot takes of your own. If you would like for me to respond to any of them, I could maybe do a follow-up, because there's definitely more that I could say. But I wanted to begin here and then see if we could maybe build going forward. You all have a beautiful rest of your week. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Bye.